Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit happy here back again with ReZero. This is it, this is the finale, this is the last episode of it all, really. There's been no mention of a season 2, but there is, I believe there's an OVA coming out if it's not already out. So, who knows? I mean, I believe in this world there is plenty, I feel like there's more to tell, because it's not a complete story, really. Like, this just feels like the first arc, like there's not, you know... I don't know, like, what they could really finish off. Like, the only thing that could really, like, finish off or, like, you know, get rid of for good is Beetlejuice, right? And that's it. So it's just an arc, like, getting rid of the first villain, that's it. There's so much more to do, you know what I mean? They still need to fucking choose the, who's going to be the new queen, right? Roswell talk of, like, you know, all this talk of, like, whatever the fucking dragon is and all of that, and, like, more about the witch. I don't think all of this is going to be resolved in this final episode. I feel like the only thing that could be resolved in this episode is Beetlejuice. So, I mean, I feel like there's more to be told. I feel like this show did very well and, like, you know, was incredibly popular, so I don't see why they wouldn't go for a second season, but... Either way, yes, so since it's the final episode, we're going to celebrate with some rum. Yeah, so what happened in the last episode? Well, the biggest things that we need to talk about is the thing. Subaru was obviously talking to Beetlejuice, right, outside the sort of the fucking whatever the fuck it was, like pyramid thing, the hideout, so to speak. And Beetlejuice basically confirmed the idea of the witch using others as a vessel. Now that is something that had never been confirmed, but it was something that obviously I kind of, you know, I'd figured anyway, because it just kind of makes sense that way. Now, one of my first ever theories was Subaru being a vessel for the witch, and that is the reason why he has the scent of the witch on him. Whether she was banished or she's just not a fully fledged figure, I think I sort of pictured her sort of like Voldemort from Harry Potter, when, like, before he comes back as a fully fledged figure, you know, he was like he was sort of weak, but he had like servants around him that was trying to get him back to his full form and potential and whatnot. So I kind of say it as that, but that was also sort of in regards talking about Amelia as well. So, you know, there's also this thing about, like, Amelia being connected to the witch in some form of how the way she looks is similar to the witch and things like that. So we didn't really get a sort of end to that conversation before shit went, you know, before the plan went through and they tried to kill him. Now, they've led him to where Julius is, and they were about to fight, right? And I believe that's where it ended off. But Julius is using... he can use, like, his sort of like this magical orb thing called Nect, which he's using to essentially see what Subaru sees, because Subaru can see the unseen hands, right? Which means fucking Julius can see them as well, and that's how he's using what he's using to fight Beetlejuice with. And also, Subaru proclaimed he was the greatest knight. Now I don't know if that's just a, you know, like a compliment he's given him, or it's actually true, but you know, I don't see how Julius could possibly lose this fight. But I think there was a thing about how they needed to take care of all the fingers first and then take out the main dude, and that way it doesn't like the spirit of Beetlejuice doesn't transport straight to Subaru. I think that's the thing that they were doing, right? Because instead of, they basically did the opposite way in the previous episodes, right? And because of that, Subaru ended up being taken over. So yeah, I think that's it then. I think that's it. I don't think we really need to talk about anything else. We're going to get into this finale, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, there it is, the finale. Now, first of all, what I want to get out of the way is the episode was called That's All This Story Is About. I'm kind of in two minds. I'm wondering, like, if... Because I'm sure there's a fucking... ReZero has a light novel, right? Does it go past this point? feel like it must, right? I feel like it must. The thing that's weird is that if that's what the title's called, right, that, you know, it's ended on a... I feel like what this show was, primarily, the biggest obstacle he had was getting over his sort of, like, self-indulgent belief, you know, of, like, saving Amelia, right? And being able to handle his, you know, like, his sort of mental state after every time he would see, like, you know, the people he cared about die, and he would die, right? And that was sort of like the main sort of driving force behind the show. It wasn't necessarily about him versus Beetlejuice, though I feel like the last sort of few episodes kind of, you know, gave us that. Like, it was like, oh, he's like he's the nemesis we need to go for. When in reality, I think more or less it was more a battle of him fighting him, like Subaru fighting himself, really. And when I say, like, this is a show that has set up so many things that need to be resolved, so there has to be more coming out, there has to be a season 2, they would have to go down a different route almost, because I feel like while this is sort of like the first arc, I feel like everything's been resolved like with Subaru himself. He is at a point where he is so mentally strong that it doesn't affect him, you know, anywhere near as much as it once did, you know. So if they were to continue, there's plenty of fucking story left to go. Like, considering that, like, you know, like I said at the beginning, like, you need to get one of those chosen maidens to be the next one in charge. You've got Roswell's story with, you know, wanting to get Amelia on the throne so that he can go take care of the dragon, whatever. You've still got what's the whole thing about the you know, the witch being a part of him and stuff like that. If, you know, there's more out there. The whale's supposed to be gluttony, right? You had Beetlejuice, who was sloth, Subaru, who was supposedly pride. There's still 4 other sins out there. You know what I mean? Well, we didn't get a wrap up on anything revolving Reinhard and the little lass, whatever her name was, that became like she became like a maiden, right? Because she had like I can't remember, she had like a seal or something, right, that like allowed her to take part. Trying to find a fucking name. You know who I mean, though. The girl who was is it Elsa? Was that it? Oh no, it was Felt, right? It was Felt. Who's Elsa? Was Elsa the first woman come up again? Yeah, there's that as well to be resolved. She left, right? The fucking the woman who was she was a hunter or something, right? She was like a she was some kind of hunter. I can't. God, I'm just trying to go through like all these little details that are sort of left ambiguous. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of just left off and they never got back to again. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when they, you know, when it's basically, you know, the end title card or whatever is called, that's all this story is about. It's an odd one, because I feel like it almost means that, like, everything that was happening on the bigger scale, like all of the other stuff, didn't matter. It wasn't this wasn't about that. It was about just Subaru and Amelia and everything that surrounded that. It wasn't about the bigger stuff. But I mean, there's so much stuff that you've just that they've left ambiguous. Bowel Hunter, that's what she's called, right? Elsa, yeah, that's what it is. She like what is in? She like lives in the northern provinces. You know what I mean? There's just so much. There's so much like stuff that you've set up that you never finished. So it's almost like they have. It's almost like they completed this and left it open as a thing of, oh well, if we want to go back to it, we can, but we're not necessarily going to. You know what I mean? Which would be sucky, I think, because I think, you know, there's a lot that can be done with it. Like I said, the only way I can see their point of maybe not like continuing it would be the fact that like, and this is all dependent on whether or not like the light novel has actually gone beyond this, is that I can't imagine Subaru in a state where, you know, I just think it was such a big part of the show, him getting over like that torment and stuff. So the thing is, if the show was to continue on, Subaru's already reached the mental point where I don't think, you know, he can get, like, you know, he's never going to go back on himself and redo it again. And honestly, as a viewer, I wouldn't want to see that because it was so fucking, you know what I mean? I liked this story as a whole encompassed, because I think the reason why the last episodes were nice to watch was because you earned it at the end. It was so unbearable at times, like in the middle, that, you know what I mean, it earned the nice, you know, feeling of the end. Now I mean, and I think with like Subaru being the sort of, you know, the protagonist of the show, you kind of have to have him have some element of like something to fight against. And if he's not fighting against himself anymore, then I guess the show needs to take a different approach if it continues. Like, it's going to, I feel like it'll end up becoming more of a, maybe like a shonen in a way, because he's not sort of phased as much. He doesn't have to have that inner battle within himself anymore. So I think if there was a second season, that the story itself would feel much different from the first one, which I think is fine. But I just see like maybe there is a reason why they don't want to go into a second season, and they just wanted to keep it self-contained. But yeah, whatever. So yeah, Subaru and Emilia end up at the end together. You know, which is nice for him as the character. That's what he wants. You know what I mean? Even though, you know, the vast majority of people that wasn't exactly a highlight for people. I think a lot of people saw, you know, because it was a case of like he turned up, and it was more a case of like love at first sight kind of thing, right? Whereas I think as a sort of collective, you want to see a relationship built over time, as opposed to be like you hang out with them once, that's it, you've got feelings for them, and you can't unbreak those feelings. I think the idea of a sort of like a love at first sight kind of thing is a romanticized thing that's sort of overblown because of, you know, fucking, you know, movies and things like that and books, and, you know, we all like to think that, like, you know, it's that fantastical, right? But in reality it's not. And I think maybe because this show ends up being a bit more relatable, because of Subaru himself and the way that he sort of acts due to the situations that he's put in, even though it takes place in a fantasy world, I think maybe that's a bit jarring to people, because, you know, like it's a, you know, it's an everyday, like, you know, all of the fucking romantic movies where it's like love at first sight, it's just like that kind of idea. So when you have Rem come along, and she's got a backstory in which you can feel for her, you can have sympathy for her, you can empathize with her, and then, you know what I mean, her character is so built up to be this rock for Subaru, that when Subaru is so, you know what I mean, like he accepts it, but he doesn't, you know what I mean, he basically shoots her down for Amelia, who he's got this unbreakable infatuation with, because they hung out, like, you know what I mean. And I guess like they had those bit, like those talks, you know what I mean. But you know, I think the way Subaru sees it versus the way the audience see it is so different, because we get an actual backstory with Rem. We have that thing where you actually see what's happening, and you see what's happened. Whereas with Amelia, it's just her account of it. You know, it's a perspective thing. Whereas with Rem, that's the thing that actually happened. So as a viewer, you kind of automatically look at Rem and you think that she is built up to be, you know, the perfect counterpart to Subaru, and then, you know, Subaru just completely rejects it. So it is a tough one. I mean, I still think at the end Rem kind of deserved it, but then again, like, the story would have been so much different if he wasn't chasing that. Like, the reason why the story is the way it is because he's trying to help Amelia. That's the point. He's trying to save her because he loves her. That's the point of it. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's definitely not like, you know, the ending. If I was writing it, I would come up with. But you know what I mean? It's fine for him as a character. That's what he wanted. So, you know, that's absolutely fine. It's still a happy ending. So there's that. But back to the beginning, yeah, Julius could only move as fast as Subaru sees. I thought that was an interesting thing, like the reason why Julius was getting hit and stuff. And I was like, really? Like, you know what I mean? We've had things in the past, like, you know, episodes in the past, Wilhelm just comes out the back and just fucking, you know, one-shots Julius. No, not Julius. Beetlejuice. Beetlejulius. No, he comes out the back and, like, one-shots Beetlejuice and things like that. And, like, you know what I mean? We've seen what knights can do, and they can just absolutely tear fucking people apart with their abilities and things like that. So I was actually surprised he was actually getting hit. But then, yeah, it was kind of sort of confirmed a little bit on where Subaru was like, or Julius like asked that, or said that he can determine the way that he's fighting and where shit's coming from. And he basically, Subaru was like, oh, it's okay, I can keep up. So I guess there was a thing of like Subaru had to see as fast as fucking Julius was moving, I guess. Like, I guess that would have been the case. Although I think if he's been able to see through Subaru's eyes, that as long as Subaru has it in full view, it should be fine, right? But I don't know. But yeah, Julius said he had like the sort of 6 elements, so I'm guessing he has what? All of the elements of the fucking of this world at his disposal, like fire, earth, water, air, and then shadow, and what's the other one? Light? Or like, what's the other one? It's got to be like opposite of shadow, right? So it's got to be like light or something, right? I guess he has like fucking all those at his disposal with his sword. But yeah, I love the fact that fucking. So yeah, I was wrong. I thought they were playing up the fact that if you kill all the fingers first and then kill Beetlejuice, that he wouldn't have anywhere to go. But it went back into Subaru anyway. The plan was that as soon as he's in there, he uses his return to death speech. But because at that time Beetlejuice has taken over, that's who has to deal with like the witch inside, which is great. I love that. I never even fucking thought about that. That was great. I guess I never thought about it because I never thought at one point both of them had, like, you know, I guess control at the same time. So I never thought it would be possible, but it's a great idea. Yeah, that was Amelia's voice. So that's another thing that the show hasn't tied up, like that. You know what I mean? Like, if there's anything that can be left ambiguous, it's not that. You need to fucking wrap that up somehow. But that was definitely Amelia's voice. By the way, like, towards the end there, when the Firestones thing blew up. By the way, I don't know who that was something that was left ambiguous as well. Like, who put that there? You know what I mean? Like, somebody had to, but we didn't get an answer to that, did we? So when he grabbed it and he threw it in that fucking, you know, and it blew up, when he was like, you know, half unconscious or whatever, I love the line, is the witch coming to grab my heart again? I love that, because now that it's sort of confirmed that the witch's voice is Amelia's voice, I mean, you could just go and say, oh, it's just the same voice actor, but come on. Come on, right? It's the same voice. I love the double entendre of, like, witch grabbing his heart, right? Almost like, you know, causing like fucking heart palpitations, whatever. He could like kill him. Versus Amelia coming to grab his heart, because to him she's always had his heart, so it's the love thing as well. I love that double. That was a great quote. So I think it's like it's sort of a nod to the audience, because they should be aware at this point that they're both the same person, Amelia and the witch, or there's just a connection there, right? There's a connection between obviously Amelia and the witch in whatever form that takes. But to Subaru, obviously he's totally unaware. So the last thing I guess to talk about was the fact that Beetlejuice never died, even though he got crushed under a landslide. Like a rock squished him. So I don't know how the fuck he stayed alive after that. I mean, yeah, I have no idea. I really have no idea. But he was chasing after Subaru and whatnot. I guess just to try and get back in Subaru's head to meet the witch again, because that's where he met the witch for the first time. And he was calling her Satella, which is something that we haven't heard before. He always just like called her as you know, her, right? Like he never mentioned a name or anything like that. But then Subaru threw the gospel. He tried to grab it, but I guess he like got, you know, just because he was too close, you want to like get him away a bit. It magically dropped. Luckily as well, it dropped right back at Subaru's feet, and he wrote something in it. But he just said, "You are finished," as a quote. I'm not sure if that's what was written in it though. Like, I don't know what the quote was in that could have possibly removed like Beetlejuice from existence. Like, you know. I did realize, like, when he picked it up, after Beetlejuice got squished by the landslide, that there was a blank page. But I never guessed like he would, you know, he would use it. The only way I can kind of tell that like he knew what to do there was that he has some sort of crossover with the witch, and like, you know, he subconsciously knew what to do because he has like, I don't know, witch memories in him or something. I don't know. Like, that's the only thing I can really gather, because I feel like that kind of went sort of unanswered. But yeah, he did it anyway, and he ended up killing him. I don't even know how he survived anyway the first time, but he did, and that was that. It seemed like a very like Nemesis sort of cry out the end when he was like, "Natsuki Subaru." So, you know, normally in a lot of fiction, like when that happens, normally it's like, oh, you've set up as like a sort of, you know, a nemesis that could possibly come back in the future. You know what I mean? But who fucking knows? Who knows? But yeah, that was the end of ReZero. So yeah, very sort of very mixed feelings. I liked it as a whole. I think what really sort of like, you know, threw me off, I did, you know, I think this is sort of a like I was well, at the point where I was watching 2 of these episodes a week, like that was bad enough, so I can't even imagine the people that had to watch it week to week. But I think this show benefits from watching and binge watching it. I really do, because I think you know, the thing that really did like sort of throw me off was I was actually physically exhausted from watching like some of those episodes like in the middle, you know what I mean? And in a way, I guess that is sort of like a compliment to the sort of performance, because I honestly think the voice actor of Subaru did such a an amazing job. You know what I mean? But I think personally, like, just trying to, like, you know, just taking all of that in, like, it was almost fucking stressful in a way. You know what I mean? Like afterwards, I would be like, fucking hell, like, I just can't be bothered to do anything anymore today. You know what I mean? It was tough to get through. But like I've said before 1,000 times, like, I think, you know, just because of how, you know, how tiresome and how hard those episodes were to get through, makes the sort of the end arc where Subaru's gotten past it, like, that much more, like, relieved. You know what I mean? And it ends up being a better ending because of it. So it is sort of like mixed feelings. Like, you know, it's obviously, it's not my favorite show in the world, you know what I mean, but I did more or less, like, I enjoyed it overall as a whole. So, you know, I think it does deserve its sort of, like, you know, its second season to see where it goes. Like I said, it'll be a different kind of show, I think, because I don't see Subaru suffering from the same stuff that he did in this season. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So yeah, that is all for ReZero. So thank you everyone for watching. Sorry for, like, you know, for there was long periods of time where, like, ReZero, like, wouldn't get reacted to and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Things came up at, like, you know, the wrong time and stuff like that, and I had a lot on my plate. So, but we finally got there in the end. Next week, by the time this comes out, next week I'll be away on holiday, so there'll be nothing out on a Thursday. But then after the week after that, there will be the start of a new show that I'm reacting to, which is a bit different. But I'll let you know about that when you know, close to the time, or when it comes out immediately. It might be just as a bit of a surprise. But yeah, that is all. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, links to certain things, Discord, get yourself over there. Everything you need to know about my channel is over there, and you can come and join me in the community. My website, SirMonkeySuit.com, everything there. No, what the fuck? Oh god, that first run must have just gotten to me really quick. SirMonkeySuit.com, my website, all my content is over there. Go over there, become a member, you can get access to the forums and stuff like that, and Patreon. So I do have a Patreon. If you do want to support me, that'd be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. So there's the early access, $5 a month, gives you access to my shows a week early, and you get 4 episodes of Fade every week. Full length, $10 a month, gives you access to my full length library. Everything I react to gets a full length. $15 exclusive tier, that gives you access to a bonus show I'm currently reacting to, which is 7 Deadly Sins. So if you're interested in watching me react to that, become an exclusive tier patron. And also that is involved in movie reactions as well, which is about to come up very fucking soon. Next month is the release of the Blu-ray for My Hero Academia 2 Heroes, the dub. So I will be reacting to that if you want to see that. I'm still, like, a bit iffy on whether or not I actually want to put it in the exclusive tier, and I might just put that as sort of like a one-off for everyone to watch, but we'll see. $50 elite tier. Every time we pay $50, you get a choice for a show that you want me to react to, and I will react to it. It'll go to the back of the list by now 7 shows. Might take me a while to get round to it, but I will do eventually. But if you don't want to wait that long and you want your show to be reacted to next, and you want to get God tier, which is $100, and yeah, that means your show will be reacted to next. That is all. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.